Hi, Avi.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Hey, Brad.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It was nice to see Carrie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I was out of town.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you missed out on all the fun of the building downtown.
Yeah.
Lucky to some extent until you got back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't. You're talking about Central Warehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't have a ton of interaction with that, luckily.
That's
But I
good.
know some of my colleagues sure did. So
BZA question. I didn't see anything really new from the place on Central that wants the free sign. What is it called? The auto shop,
1009.
if you say so.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the new information. Mostly it had been taken off the previous schedule because it needed to go to the county for referral first.
Okay. So the new information was just a county decision. I saw that, but
Yeah, so essentially it was, and I'll mention this again, but they deferred to the BZA. And
I
there's a
thought we had asked him a lot of questions when he first, talked to us, and so he hasn't provided any additional information.
the new applications that were uploaded and sent out, those ones have, as far as I know, have all the most up-to-date information in them.
Okay. Then I missed that a little bit. Okay.
So for the applicants that are on here, I know it's 6 o'clock. We're just waiting a few more minutes for two other board members to join us. So we have quorum, and then we'll begin the meeting.
Hey, Avi. Hi, everyone. Jeff Quain just reached out. He's wondering if the BZA meeting link can be resent.
Yep. Okay. I'll send that right over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So his is saying that it expired.
All right. Yeah, I'll send them a new link.
Thank you.
Okay, he should have that new link now. So for those who have just joined the meeting here, we are just waiting a minute for another board member, just having some technical issues, but we'll begin the meeting shortly. Lisa, I see you had a question.
Yeah, I just wondered how this works because I've never done it this way before. So if you want us to, Briggs is going to do most of this talking, but there may be things that I need to answer. So do you just hit the raise hand and then you come on?
Yeah, I can unmute you, or when the board calls on you for the application, I can unmute both of you, and you can just take turns answering the questions respectively if you want.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, everyone. Sorry about that. Thank you, Avi.
Yep, no problem. So we do have all three members here and our attendees. So if everyone's ready, we can get the meeting underway. Welcome to the BZA public hearing and workshop meeting. Our chair of the BZA is not available for tonight's meeting. So our first item of order is going to be to have a motion to appoint Jeff as the acting chair for tonight's BZA meeting.
I move that we appoint Jeff as the acting chair for tonight's BZA meeting.
I second.
Is there a call for a vote?
Call
Or
for vote.
all in favor?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. And then thank you for that. So Jeff, just before we begin, and we had discussed briefly before, but we're just moving a couple items on the agenda around. We're going to have the workshop item go first.
Thank you, Avi.
Yep. I'm just going to share that right now.
Okay. The only item I should say on our agenda for the public workshop portion of tonight's meeting is project 479, which is an application for an area variance. Avi, would you be able to walk us through the application?
Yep. So the property is 48 Delaware, also 234 Myrtle. It's on the corner. So it's got two different property addresses. There's currently two parcels there right now. Applicant is Ron Stein. The zoning district is the MUCU, which is the mixed use community urban zoning district. It's also in the HRO, which is the historic overlay zoning district. The specific request before us for the workshop is to allow for a parking lot to be established 390 feet away from the primary use to be served, where the maximum distance allowed is 300 feet per the USDO. Here we have the image of the two lots here in this empty vacant space right on the corner. Top right hand corner, you'll see the property outlined in relation to the other zoning districts, and then on the map in the bottom right hand corner is just its location within the city. And here we have a map just showing the site proximity to the primary use. So the arrow starting where the proposed parking lot is to be and going to where the development that would require the off-street parking is located. And as you can see, it's 390 feet away. Here we have the site or plot plan showing some of the general specs that we're taking a look at for consideration. So 16 parking spaces being proposed. You have the curb cut and entrance to the parking lot off of Myrtle Ave. Again, this is on the corner. There is a building that is shown on here. I would recommend that be removed for the actual public hearing. It just needs to be shown as an empty space where a building could go to meet the USDO requirements. But since it's not actually being proposed now and it's not something that's under our consideration, I think it would be best to have that removed if everyone's in agreement there. I don't know if anyone has any questions about this plot plan that I'm showing right now.
So what, can you say that again about what you were saying about the building?
So yeah, the requirement here in the zoning district is that there at least be space for essentially a future building. But this is kind of proposed as a potential phase two, but the building isn't before us in this application right now. It's not actually being proposed. So since it's not there, we don't want to be approving something saying the building's, going here when we don't actually know if that's the case yet.
Okay, so yes, the site plot plan should be updated to show only what is actually being proposed and requested right now.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a request for an area variance. We have our 5 criteria that we will go through one by one to make the determination. And I will just read off the information that the applicant has provided. So for the character of the neighborhood, how is the requested variance consistent with the character of the surrounding properties? How would the requested variance change the character of the neighborhood? The applicant's answer was the alteration being proposed does not result in a structure or configuration that is out of place in the neighborhood because the proposed parking will eventually be behind a building to be built at a later date. That will be consistent with the other buildings on Delaware Ave. On Myrtle Ave across the street, there currently is a large parking lot for the Price Chopper supermarket. The lighting, greenery, trees, fencing, etc., will be consistent with the surrounding neighborhood look and feel as well.
Does the board have any questions on this specific question? Or the applicant's answer?
I don't at this time. I mean, what is the proposed use of that phase 2 building?
Are you referring to this one over here, this one that's shown here?
Yeah.
Well, that's essentially not to be considered because it's not part of the plan. The parking is really to meet the parking standards of a site located over here.
Okay. Can you go back to the site plan? And so, yeah, I think we said it, but so because they said something about lighting and greenery in the character of the neighborhood. And so the greenery that's being showed on the site plot plan, that is being proposed as part of this, just a parking lot, not as part of this like potential phase 2.
Correct. There are requirements for landscaping, screening, and other things for parking lots as well. So it has, it has to meet those standards. And it'll be going through the planning board for review as well. But I think part of it is to know also what would be located where the building is, or if there's other, grass or something else that'll be going there in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because so on the site plot plan, the parking, you enter from Myrtle, but then so it's from what you can see on Delaware, you're gonna see a lot, and then in the back of the lot, parking, I guess, is the current concept, right?
Correct. Yep.
Trying to get a full understanding of the picture in order to figure out any questions for character of the neighborhood.
Okay.
But so you agree with that statement, right?
About the landscaping and greenery, et cetera?
Yeah, I guess we don't really know right now because of how the site plot plan is presented, what it's going to look like during this phase 1 of setting up the parking, that front area off Delaware.
Okay. All right. So you'd like more clarity on the actual intent and final layout, what that'll look like with landscaping. Okay.
I see someone raise their hand. Jeff, do you want to mention something about the fact that during workshops, we don't have discussions with applicants? We just kind of,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Adriana. As a reminder to the public, or if you haven't joined us before, the public workshops are an opportunity for the board to discuss applications as they have been brought to the planning department. We talk as a board and give feedback or any questions that we may have. And then public comment is allowed during public hearings, hearing portions of the meetings. So this project is during the public workshop. So we will talk about this, and the public hearing, it will be on another meeting agenda for a public hearing, at which point the public will have the opportunity to comment on this proposal.
Thanks.
Thank you. And Adrian, thank you for your question on that. I guess Avi, since we are only considering the parking lot as is, I think, if the answer to the character of the neighborhood could be refined a little bit, because, we should consider this as is, and not that it will, not under the impression that the building will or will not be built. So, I think it's, this might be a minor thing, but I think it's hard to say. It fits in the neighborhood because it will be behind a building when we don't know that building will happen as this application is before us.
Thank you for that addition to my comment. I think that's exactly the point of this, the reflection of this answer, which is it needs to be updated to answer whether the proposed parking without the building actually, like, how that may or may not be consistent with the character of the surrounding properties. Are there other parking lots without a building in front of them in the neighborhood? Things like that.
Okay. Anything else before I move on to the next item here?
No.
Okay. So the next criteria, alternatives considered, describe all potential alternatives that were considered that achieve the same benefit but do not require variance or require a smaller variance. Why is the requested variance the only option to achieve the benefit sought? Answer provided, the benefit achieved will be to add additional parking to the neighborhood, which there's always a short supply. These 16 spots will be initially leased to utilize to the Lark Street project, which requires off-street parking. Initially, they will be leases of existing parking spots within 300 feet. Requirements, but new additional parking is heavily preferred by planning department, and there was not suitable existing lot within 300 feet. This is just 90 feet outside of the 300 feet and achieves the goal. Section 375, 3034 G VII C2, use specific standards, parking lot service. In the MUCU zoning district, no conditional use permit shall be approved unless it is determined that the proposed parking lot, the closest lot line for the proposed parking lot is no more than 300 feet from a lot line of the property to be served. The proposed parking lot is located just over 300 feet from the use/property to be served.
Avi, do you know what was meant by the sentence there? Initially, they were to be leases of existing parking spots within the 300 feet requirement. So is that originally the applicant was looking at leasing parking spots within the 300 feet?
Of where the site is, yeah, that, to the best of my knowledge, that is the case, or I believe that was the case, yeah.
Okay. Do my fellow board members have any questions on this?
So yeah, I think that could, again, the answer could be clarified, fleshed out a little bit, right? Like the criteria here is what were the alternatives that were considered by the applicant that that didn't require a variance or didn't require such a big this, or a smaller variance than this variance, if any. So did they consider anything else? It sounds like they did kind of, right? They kind of say that initially they were to be leases of existing parking spots within the 300 feet requirement. So I think if they fleshed out what that meant, like Jeff said, like what was considered, was it a parking lot on the site that this is meant for? Was there, parking closer within and what happened to this parking? Why did that fall through? Was there any consideration of any other parking option? What were the other, what did they do to come to the determination that there were no other parking options within the the required distance within the 300 feet?
Yeah, thank you, Adriana. And I, to that point, I think also, if that can be fleshed out and whether it is the preference of the department to have more parking, I think that's that isn't necessarily an alternative considered. So we do need to hear more from the applicant on that point.
For the next criteria, looking at substantiality, how is the requested variance not a substantial deviation from the USDO requirement? Answer provided, the variance being requested is only a 90 feet increase. It will be visible to the Lark Street project and is easily accessed, walkable with existing lighting and street lights and crossing.
I would ask if the applicants could also provide more detail or more substantive response, no pun intended, to this question, because it just is kind of a conclusory response and it doesn't really tell us why they've reached the conclusion that 90 feet increase is not substantial compared to anything else.
Okay.
If there's any other instances of parking lots that are directly servicing a development or a business that are outside of the 90 feet, or different distances, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I would concur with all of that. And I think fleshing out the answer to the second criteria will help flesh out this answer to some extent.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. Impact on the environment. How would the requested variance impact the surrounding neighborhood through potential impacts such as drainage, traffic circulation, dust, noise, odor, public services, etc.? Applicant's answer, none, as the curb cut being utilized is just a minor change to the existing one on Myrtle, and it'll be far from the corner. There's an existing traffic light at Myrtle and Delaware as well.
So are they not repaving the lot for the parking? I guess I think for impact on the environment, for this specific project, for the parking on this lot, are they, they talked about some planters, some greenery, which would help, with some of the impact on the environment, drainage, things like that. But I haven't checked out the lot myself, so I don't know what the current state of the lot is. It sounds like it's already kind of more or less, it's not just a green space. But if it was a green space and was suddenly being paved over, then that would need to be addressed. If it's not, but it's being repaved, that should be mentioned in here, and then explained how, the consequences on the environment of any such repaving of the lot for the parking spaces.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay. And just to clarify, it will require, paving and everything else. It's just a vacant lot. It's not like a legal parking as it is right now.
Yeah.
And-
Right, different vacant lots, like sometimes like it could be just grass growing wild, or it could be like gravel, right? Like, so I think that should be described in this answer.
And to add to that, and I think it's kind of implied here with the existing traffic light, but they did mention in the site plan that I believe that they will add additional lighting, which, it is a heavily trafficked area, but I think just mentioning the additional light that will come from lighting the parking lot should be in here as well.
Okay. And moving on to the last of the criteria items, self-created difficulty. How is the need for the requested variance not self-created? Applicant answer, the need for the variance being requested is not self-created, as it is required by planning for the Lark Street project, and these lots are and have been vacant for a long time.
I guess I actually wondered that earlier when the applicant refers to planning, do they refer to the planning board or the planning department? Do you know?
I mean, I believe just by the way it's worded, referring to the code, really, because the USDO requires the parking be provided within the 300 feet and not more than.
Okay.
But yeah, certainly clarification can be added there.
Okay. Yeah. And then obviously, I mean, that's not a self-created difficulty, so or not exactly the need for the variance being requested. Yeah.
That is it for what I have for the workshop item. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to go back to before we move on.
Avi, I just had one more question, or I guess one more comment on this, the criteria for self-created difficulty, or I guess maybe the application in general, since we are only considering the variances for this parking lot on Myrtle and Delaware. It might just be helpful for us to know, I guess, what's the impetus for this? How many spots are needed for the other project? Just for awareness, since it is referred here that the planning board or department are pushing for the extra parking. I think that would be good background for us.
Okay. Yep. Noted.
Adriana, Serena, do you guys have any other additional comments, questions on this application?
The applicant owns this slot or not?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, to me, the response to the self-created difficulty answer doesn't appear to be correct, right? I think we've seen in most applications that it's usually the case that the difficulty is self-created, right? Like they're aspiring to do this project when that it's not a necessity. So it is kind of a self-created difficulty. So the response to this question is a little concerning to me. And if they could just add something to that, or think about it a little bit more.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, we the reminder being always that it's okay for it to be a self-created difficulty, because we look at all the criteria as, like not meeting one of the criteria, especially this one is not, doesn't change, doesn't force a decision. So
It's a good point. That's true. I forgot to add that.
but I guess I'm because initially I think I was trying to say what you were saying, Serena, and I guess maybe in this case, unlike in most cases we see, maybe this one is closer to, I think it still doesn't meet the self-created difficulty, but maybe it's closer to it. So if what they're saying is that this variance is required by the planning code, which I think was what Avi was, which we need clarification on. When they say planning, what do they mean? Is it by the USDO? But so they're saying they have this other project, the USDO requires the parking. There are no other options for parking for that other project than this lot. Then can an argument be made that it's not self-created? I think the classic, a more, right, like a self-create, I think what is usually thought of as something that would not be a self-created difficulty is you bought a lot with a house on it, and then the rules changed on you, right? Like I think that's more of a self-created, like the laws changed after you bought the lot and after you made your decisions or something like that. And we may have Avi and Marta, maybe you can help us refresh our memories on what constitutes a self-created difficulty, either now on the fly or for the meeting. That may be helpful, and the applicant too, maybe some information on what constitutes a self-created difficulty may be useful here.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I think you're on the right track. The way you're phrasing it, I mean, it is, if you, whether buying property knowingly or unknowingly, if it's something that doesn't meet the code, that would generally be a self-created hardship. There's some nuance to it. To your point, is typically very difficult to meet the case for self-created difficulty and hardship. But I'd be happy to send out more information on the specifics and some more legal language than as I'm stating it right now to everyone.
Great, thank you. I think it may be useful if you can share that with the board and the applicant as they review that. But I think we all want to look back at what self-created difficulty really consists of, and then for the applicant to reconsider whether or not their answer still stands after reviewing that. I think it's a conclusion. Thank you, Abby.
Yep.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for the discussion. Unless there are any other questions, I think we can conclude the public workshop portion of tonight's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. All right, then, I think we can move on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. As a reminder, or if you've joined us before, or if this is your first time, during the public hearing portion of the meeting, the applicant will have 10 minutes to walk the board through their application, at which point we will then open it up to the public for comment. Members of the public have 3 minutes to provide comment. Council members, if there are any, they have 6 minutes. And from there, if the board so chooses, we'll have the opportunity to take action on these applications. And with that, Avi, if you can, or I'm sorry, Avi, do we have the applicant here for this application?
Yes, I'm just making sure they're unmuted. All right, so you should both the applicants for this should be able to speak now. And again, I do just have the PowerPoint presentation. If there's anything specifically you'd like me to show, I can go through the slides.
Hi, my name is Briggs Montero, and I'm representing Albany Medical Center here with this project. Avi, I don't know if you have the information that was put together from Hyman Hayes, or if you've actually had these new slides that are representing the project. Okay, it looks like you have new slides. All right, so why don't I just kind of jump in and give you a quick overview of what Albany Med is trying to do. And Lisa Timchin with Saxton Sign is also on the call with us, and she can jump in with any technical questions that you may have regarding the individual signs. But the gist of it, if we start looking at slide 18, the gist of it is we have a very big campus. We have a project right now that involves two very generous donors to the facility, and we're trying to combine some notoriety for these donors, plus also keep in mind what we need to do at our main campus for wayfinding, and be consistent with what we've already done in the past at this campus. The 5 signs that we have in question right now have to do with these donor signs. And the area right now that you're looking at, if you look all the way to the left of the drawing, that represents our west entry. If you look all the way to the right of the drawing, that represents the east end of the campus. And if we look at kind of in the middle, you'll see the notes where it says location new proposed freestanding sign and location new proposed wall sign. If we start at those two signs, the issue that we have is that the freestanding sign is a little bit larger than what is a standard size sign for the City of Albany requirements. Part of the reason for the larger than normal sign is because we're also trying to have visibility over the top of a fence that we put in to secure that front entry. Lots of things have changed in the last few years. One of the things that we've tried to do with this pillars entrance, as we call it for the hospital, is to create a plaza area where our staff and our visitors can kind of go out and hang out while they're here, keeping an eye on their family. So we've added some security with this fence and the sign location because, again, it's for the donor's sake. It's a little bit taller so that you can see that it's in honor of the Higgins family, who has helped us create this environment that we have in the front, where we've added new greenery and taken down some overgrown trees and just tried to dress up the whole area, as well as fix some old issues that we had out here with curb lines and issues that we've had with street lighting and all that kind of stuff. So it's very important that we note the benefit and the contributions made by the Higgins family. That's one of the signs that's in question. The other sign, if you look to the left of that photo or the rendering that you have right in front of us with the freestanding sign, you'll see a radiused wall. It's a brick wall with a bench. On that brick portion of the wall, we wanted to add the donor's name, which is the Higgins family. It says Robert J. Higgins Plaza. And again, that's facing the hospital. It's not facing New Scotland Avenue. That's the other sign that's in question that we'd like to get approval on. And that deals with the main issues that we have in the plaza area. The other 3 signs are in honor of our other donor, Mr. Barba, who was our president and CEO for close to 30 years. The Physicians Pavilion, or the west end of the campus, was previously named the Physicians Pavilion. And in honor of Mr. Barba, we're renaming it the James J. Barba Physicians Pavilion. Because of the size of the sign and because we're adding James J. Barba to the sign, it exceeds our square footage allotment for this sign. And so that we can maintain visibility and also be mindful of our wayfinding, because we will be noting the west entrance as the James J. Barba Physicians Pavilion, and we're asking our patients to be looking out for that so that they can figure out where to go. The sign is bigger than what's allowed by the city. So we're asking for the variance on that. There are 2 signs, one that faces the parking lot on the Albany Med property, and one that's going to be going on the side of the canopy. Well, actually, let's take a look at this one. So this is the second sign that's illuminated and up high. This one is facing New Scotland Avenue. And again, we're replacing the Physicians Pavilion sign with the James J. Barba Physicians Pavilion sign. So that we can maintain the visibility, but also accommodate the additional letters. It is larger than what's permitted by the city. The third sign that's in question at this location is on this canopy. This canopy is facing the parking lot that Albany Med has at the west end. Currently says Albany Medical Center Physicians Pavilion. We're looking to change that to James J. Barber Physicians Pavilion. So it's just a change of lettering. And that's what we're proposing to the city and hoping for your consideration and understanding the requests that we have. Lisa, is there anything technically that you need to add from the sign installation perspective?
No, the signs are, consistent with the way that the other signs on the campus are built. The sign on the one that's up there right now that's showing on the screen right now to the left on the canopy is non-illuminated, just they're cut metal letters, and the other two signs are illuminated, but with diffused light. So I'm not quite sure that the Higgins sign, I do not think is oversized. I think that is just the height. There was a 2-foot height issue. And that was to get it over the top of the fence. There was a question about why we didn't put it in front of the fence at the workshop. And in fact, that was addressed in the response from Hyman Hayes. There's a bunch of utilities and other things in front of that area that cannot be disturbed with doing a foundation underneath the sign. So that's why we could not put it forward of the fence for greater visibility.
Great, thank you both. At this time, board members, do you have any questions, comments on this application?
Lisa, if you could just clarify, you said that the illuminated sign would have diffused lights. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what you mean by that.
So there's most of the signs that are on the campus there are if you're familiar with the Albany Med signs that are on the campus, it's the same type of situation. It's an aluminum can. It's got LEDs inside of it, and there is a piece of acrylic that goes over the top of it. So the light is diffused through a lens. There's a lot of ambient lighting in that area, in the parking lot, on the street. So it's not like a bare bulb. So, and it is consistent with the Albany Med signs that are currently on the building in most other places.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you also clarify, so is the part of the sign, like the physician pavilion part of the sign, like staying the same size, and you're just adding James J. Barber in front of it? Or is is all of it becoming bigger?
Slightly bigger, very slightly bigger. The James J. Barber on the physician's pavilion on the old sign was 14.5 inches, and this is 14.16 inches high. So basically it is the same as it was before.
Okay, but the whole sign is being replaced, and then just
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah, because the type style of the medical center has been updated, and they asked that we switch the lettering to kind of match the rest of the lettering that is being used, existing and for future on these signs. So the type style changed from a very serify type to a more plain looking style, let's say.
Maybe easier to read for your patients.
Yes.
And so your answer is correct for all of the ones that have physician pavilion, like,
Yes.
so basically it's changing, but by just a tiny bit, the actual size of the sign, other
It's
than
not-
like the addition of of all the new words. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I just had one question for clarification. For these signs, other than the freestanding and the one that is for the employees seating area, are these all near parking lots for the campus?
The physician's pavilion signs are adjacent to our west parking lot, yes.
Great, thank you. If the board doesn't have any other questions at this time, Avi, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Do we have any members of the public who have asked to speak today?
There was no comments submitted, and no one had previously requested to speak, but let me just double check. That I'm not missing anything. Nope, there do not appear to be any comments.
Great, thank you. So I do also want to note that, and Avi, I might ask you to help make sure I'm saying this correctly, but this application also is unlisted under seeker and requires a declaration if the board does choose to move forward with it tonight, or if we choose to wait either way, there needs to be a positive or negative declaration. Did I get that right, Avi?
Yeah, that's correct. So unlisted action, and it would just be the actual determination.
Are there any members of the board who would like to make a motion for a declaration under seeker at this time?
Sure, I can make a motion that the city BZA make a negative declaration under seeker for this project.
Second.
All right, everyone in favor of a negative declaration under seeker for this application, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
And that is every member of the board who is present today. Would anyone like to make a motion on area variance 107, 108, or 109 at this time?
Do the motions have to be made separately, or could I move regarding all three? Avi or Jeff or whomever?
I think separate, please.
Okay. So what were the numbers again? You said 10, I don't have it right in front of me. All the numbers.
Yeah, they're area variance 107, 108, and 109, Serena.
Okay. I move that we approve area variance 107.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is 3 votes in the affirmative.
I can make a motion that we approve area variance 108.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is 3 votes in the affirmative. And any motion on variance 109?
Yes, I move that we approve area variance 109.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, board members. So the Board of Zoning Appeals recommends that we move area variances 107, 108, and 109 at this time. Thank you, Briggs and Lisa, for talking through this with us. And with that, Avi, I think we can move on to the next item on our public hearing agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members.
The applicant should be able to speak now.
Let's see, do we have, I'm not sure who the speaker is. It looks like might be Russell. Are you?
He should be Mr. Hazen. Are you able to unmute? It should be allowed at this as of now.
See, don't know if Mr. Hazen is having some technical difficulties. I think we can give him another minute.
Yeah, let me see if I can work through that right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so anyone familiar with this property? There were 3 businesses that were tenants on this particular property. Z-Bart, who's been in Colony since 1975, has taken over all 3 spaces, about 14 to 15,000 square feet. And their signage is very important for them. They've got a big monthly rent to pay, and they're moving from Colony into Albany, right down the street. They're not that far away, and just 32 square feet and just one sign is just not enough for them. They don't think to show the type of business that they are and how big they are. There's many signs in that area that are most of them, I think, are over 32 square feet, and some on 32 square feet on some very small buildings down there. And many businesses have multiple signs. So they just want to be able to identify themselves. They've been around a long time. They're moving, and it's pretty simple.
And I would like to know at this time, board members, when this originally came before the board, I believe this past spring, there was an additional variance requested for a sign on the front of the building, which has now, there we go. Thank you, Bobby. That sign was for a 75 square foot sign on the front of the building that has been replaced with a 20 square foot sign,
24 square foot, 24, yeah.
which is within what the USDO allows. So, again, that's just for a point of awareness. Mr. Asen, was there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, not really. Just the fact that they're going to occupy 14,000 to 15,000 square feet. That's a lot of space, and they feel their signage is very important for their business. They're making a move, and like I say, if you drive up that particular part of Central Avenue, there's very large signs, and there's very many businesses with 2 signs and even 3 signs.
Board members, do you have any questions at this time? I think I will have a couple here in a little bit, but I'd like to open it up to you both.
Sorry, getting my bearings. Give me a minute. I do have some things, but just sorting my mind out after already talking about 2 different cases.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of signs tonight. I guess I do have one question off the bat, and I'm sorry, Serena, I was trying to move my screen. Okay. When this first came before the board, I remember us having a question about whether the number of signs was a requirement that was passed on from ZBART corporate. I think there was a little confusion. Oh, thank you. A little confusion about that. Has that been clarified at all? Or maybe maybe that was in relation to the larger sign that has since been replaced by a sign that is within code. Now that I'm rereading it.
Correct.
And I think, did you get your answer? Sorry, I think I got my bearings on.
No, I think so. I think I was trying to it's been a while, so I was trying to refresh myself on this as well. But I now that I'm seeing this again, I think it was in relation to the 70-foot sign that was going to propose for the front of the building.
Okay. And now I've lost track of. I had something else, but the other question I have, I guess, is so it seems like the change to the request in the application, right? Like was the now in code sign in the front facing of the building. That's because the business is saying, and I guess I'm trying to state that and just trying to get confirmation of that the because of where the building is located on Central Avenue, it is essential for people traveling east and west on Central Avenue to be able to see the signs on the sides of the building. And that's really the ones that are vital to the business and to being able to identify in time so that you can slow down and then make the turn to actually go to the business when that's what you're looking for.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So that's the reason why these signs on the sides, these 2 other signs are needed, because you're not coming to the building, because the way the building is located on Central Avenue, traffic is not coming to the building facing the front of the building, but coming from east or west.
To take this much, to rent this much space,
Did we lose?
I think there's an echo.
Yeah.
Hello?
Mr. I think we're having some difficulty hearing the answer to Adriana's question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the point here is, that's exactly right. A sign on the front of that building is not really going to serve this business. They're going to bring in a lot of customers. If people are going to look for this location, you're not seeing it as you're driving east and west. You almost have to be in front of it. So the signs on the side of the building are very important.
Okay, thank you. And I know you've mentioned that in the past there were more than one tenant in this building.
Correct.
You know if that means that they had signs on on all three sides of the building like you're proposing, or were all the signs only on the front side of the building?
No, they only want them on the front and the two sides. The other signs along the left side of that building will be removed. You don't see them in these photos. I thought I had sent some down, but there is signs on the left side of that building where the former businesses were.
Oh, so you're saying there are currently still signs from the previous tenant, and those you're planning to remove?
Right.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, just to clarify here, and I apologize, I'm not sure where that slide is, but on this back building here, there's multiple empty sign boxes, and I believe that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, correct.
I guess one point of discussion for I guess my fellow board members and maybe the planning department that I have been trying to wrap my head around. I think I understand and find that that the applicant has provided a complete application, but and I understand what the applicant is saying, right? That there's a need. These cars are traveling pretty fast up Central. They need to be able to find this location to be able to turn into it pretty quickly. So you kind of need big enough signs to be able to see them in time to plan your turn safely into the building. The one that that wasn't as needed for this ability to turn in time and find the building in time when traveling up and down Central has been reduced and is not requiring a variance now, which I think is important. And I appreciate that the applicant made that change. I think one of the things the applicant has brought up a couple times is that there are a lot of other very big signs on Central Avenue, which totally agree. That's a fact, right? Central Avenue is filled with lots of very large signs. Thank you, Abby, for showing examples. But the USDO, when it was adopted not that long ago, a couple of years ago, and then recently has been considered for amendments and stuff like that, has been people who adopted the USDO were aware that Central Avenue was this busy, or is this busy commercial road with very large sign, yet the requirement in the USDO for the signs is still this fairly quite smaller size signs. And I guess I'm curious, maybe I'm not, is Brad still on, or did Brad leave? I don't see him anymore, or is it?
I don't think.
No, he's not on, but I might be able to potentially address the question.
Thank you, Abby.
Are you just asking like what the planning department in general is thinking long term in terms of the sign requirements for this area?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. So we've certainly discussed, I mean, I think we all agree that this area, along Central, is certainly different from some other areas. Just from this image and from some of the others that were submitted, can certainly see there's a lot of signs, a lot of them are larger. I think there's a general consensus that we should be taking a look at the sign ordinance, specifically for some of these areas. That's definitely something that we'll be considering. How much of that I would say to weigh in the sense of this current variance, because it has to be under the current USDO, but yeah, I mean, in terms of the long range planning, we're certainly looking to make it in line with what the businesses require, but also not creating a detriment to other businesses perhaps, or to other residential properties in the area.
Okay, thank you, Abby. I do appreciate that input. Yeah, I don't have any other questions for the applicant. I think I've come full circle and wrapped my head around this case at this point. Thank you, everyone.
Serena, do you have any questions? If not, I have one.
I don't.
Okay. I just want, Avi, can you go to the alternatives considered slide? So I know, I guess I just wanted, Mr. Hazen, if you could talk a little bit about why, I know visibility is the reason for requesting the 48-inch sign. Can you talk a little bit about why 48 is bigger, better than say a 40-inch, or even the 32 that's allowed by the USDO?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Z-Bar, their manufacturer of their sign faces have stock sizes. No, they want to hire us to build the sign boxes for the stock faces that they have. That's the dimensions. There are panels that they already made, sprayed up, ready to go. If they were to change that, the cost starts to skyrocket because now it becomes very custom.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, that these are the signs that their vendor supplies come pre-made in the 48-inch, and so it would be cost prohibitive for the applicant to have other ones, a different size custom made.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I would like to open up for public comment. Avi, do we have anyone signed up to speak, or did anyone provide comment beforehand on this application?
No comments were provided beforehand, and no one has requested to speak. Is no one else currently on the line that is looking to speak?
Great, thank you. As with our previous application that we discussed, this is an unlisted action under seeker and requires a negative or positive declaration. At this time, I would like to open it up to my fellow board members if anyone would like to make a motion on a seeker declaration.
I can make a motion that the board of the City of Albany BZA makes a negative declaration on this variance cases, or on these 3 variances on this case. Sorry.
It's just,
Second.
it's by project.
On this project. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all good.
Second,
Okay, all in favor of a negative declaration under seeker?
Aye.
Aye. That is 3 in the affirmative. Thank you, everyone. At this time, if any of my fellow board members are comfortable making a motion on area variance 101 and subsequently area variance 103 and area variance 104, I will open it up to do so at this time.
we approve area variance 101.
I'll second.
All in favor of a positive motion, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 3 in the affirmative for area variance 101.
I'll make a variance to approve area variance 0103.
Are you moving to do that?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, now I've lost the words. I second that.
Thank you, Serena. All in favor of to move area variance 103, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
That is 3 in the affirmative.
I move that we approve area variance 104.
Second.
Thank you both. All in favor of approval of area variance 104, please say aye, raise your hand. That is 3 in the affirmative. And so all 3 area variances will move with a positive declaration. Mr. Hazen, thank you for taking the time to speak on this application.
Thank you guys. I appreciate everything you've done. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. At this time, that concludes our agenda for our public hearing, our Board of Zoning Appeals public meeting on August 10th. Avi, before we close, is there any other business, any notifications board should be aware of?
No other routine business regarding the BZA. I do just want to put Martha on the spot for a second. I just want to, Martha will be leaving the city, but I just wanted to thank her for her time serving the board and helping us in the department. I've only been with the city for a short amount of time, but she's been extremely helpful, guiding me through a lot of the legal and seeker questions I have for the BZA. I'm sure she's assisted everyone else on here as well. So I just want to thank you for helping out.
Thank you,
Aw.
Martha.
Martha?
Thank you. It's been an honor to be on this board, to serve on this board, not serve, to be counsel to this board. It's been really interesting, and I've loved learning about land use with you all.
Thank you, Martha.
Thanks.
Everything.
Yeah. Thank you and best of luck to on your next endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Adriana. All in favor of closing the August 10th meeting, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for walking me through my interim chair duties, and everyone have a good night and look forward to seeing you, I believe, in end of the month, Avi.
Yeah, that is correct. Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
All
for
right.
doing.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.